It is hard to sing of oneness when our world is not complete, when the ones who brought us wholeness now are gone. Yet the fullness of their life is part of what we have become, and their spirit in our memory lives on. Hamakom yunachim etchem, hamakom yunachim etchem, hamakom yunachim etchem, betog sheharavili Zion v'Yerushalayim. It is hard to sing of oneness when our world is not complete, when we feel as though we walk the path alone. Now with memory to guide us, give us strength to find our way. Grant us courage to remember and to grow. Hamakom yunachim etchem, hamakom yunachim etchem, hamakom yunachim etchem, betog sheharavili Zion v'Yerushalayim.
Dear family and friends, today we gather in this sanctuary to bid a sad farewell to Jim Hochman, a beloved Temple Israel member who occupied a seat in this sanctuary for many years, along with his dear wife, Jean. As we come together to honor Jim's life and his memory, we join our hearts together to offer comfort and strength to his family. At this time of loss, we are reminded of universal concerns and the shared destiny of humankind. We are drawn together by deep-felt emotions and are reminded of the essential community that lies beneath the many divisions of humanity on earth. We begin our service with the recitation of poetry, psalms, and prayers, thus linking Jim's life with the millennia-old tradition of the people Israel and the eternity of God. Psalm 23. Adonai ro'i lo echsar, binodeshe yarbitzeni al mei menuchot yinachaleni, nafshi yeshovev, yancheni b'ma'aglei tzedek l'ma'an shemo, gam ki elech begates al mavet lo irara, ki ata imadi. Shivtecha umishantecha, hema yenachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulcha neged sorarai, dishanta b'shemen roshi, kosi rivaya. Ach tov v'chesed yerdefuni, kol yemei chayai, v'shavti b'veit Adonai la'orech yamim. We continue with the translation of the 23rd Psalm. If the text is familiar with you, please feel free to join in whatever translation you know. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, and restores my soul. You lead me in right paths for the sake of your name. Even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, and life is a journey, from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness, from ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom. From weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, and often back again. From health to sickness, and back we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding. From fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, and life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. Mourning is the price that we pay for having the courage to love others. Even in grief, we know that the wonder of human life is too complex and too magnificent to be memorialized in endless pain. The gifts of spirit our loved one gave us cannot be measured or weighed, nor can they be lost or even tarnished by time. Even in our darkest hours, we know that some of their light and their warmth will always be with us, bringing comfort and courage, and in the fullness of time, healing and peace. In his sorrow, Job cried out, Adonai natan va'Adonai lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai mivarach. God has given, God has taken away, blessed be the name of God. An ancient people, we are well acquainted with grief and with the valley of shadows. Death and sorrow are not strangers to us, yet the centuries have taught us that a good name endures beyond the grave, and that there is strength in faith. With Job we say, Adonai natan, God, you have given. You gave us a loved one who will not be forgotten. For all that was good and enduring in his life, we offer the deepest thanks of our hearts. Adonai lakach, God, you have taken away. We pray for the strength to turn our broken hearts into an altar of trust, before which we acknowledge your sovereignty and love. As we now say, Yehi Shem Adonai mivarach, blessed be the name of God, now and forever. At this time, I'd like to invite some of Jim's closest family and friends to come forward to share some remarks, and I am privileged to first ask his daughter Marla to come forward.
Good morning. I'm Marla, and I want to begin by thanking you all for coming here today to honor my incredible dad. It would have meant so much to him to see so many of his friends and colleagues and his family, and your presence honors us all. I could talk to you all day about everything that made my dad so wonderful to me. His tremendous love for his family, the incredible hard work and effort he put into his career, and the many pursuits of all of his passions, the strength with which he fought so hard and for so long when his body betrayed him, and the beautiful legacy he created for his children and his grandchildren. He worked tirelessly to live life to the fullest and take advantage of every opportunity that came his way. He was a firm believer in the value of education, and he taught me that it was the one thing that no one could take away from me. One day, over a cup of coffee, he casually asked me if I'd be interested in having a B'nai Mitzvah with him in Jerusalem. This was from a man who would come to High Holy Day services and sneak out in the middle, and then come back at the end and pretend like nothing happened. He always denied that he left the property, but for some reason he had trouble explaining why his car was parked in a different location than when we had arrived. He could barely pronounce English, let alone a foreign language, so his proposal to study with Rabbi Sofian for an entire year to prepare spoke to his commitment to learning. He was so dedicated to his family, and he wanted to be sure our time together was always meaningful. Dad, I love the many summers we spent sailing on Lake Erie and exploring the world together. But what I will miss most is your humor and the one-liners we lob back and forth almost daily over text and the phone, often at the expense of poor Mom, who had no patience for our nonsense. You gave me many gifts, not the least of which was to not take myself so seriously. Thank you for being my role model and my rock. I know right now you are on the ocean somewhere, sailing with Sid Miller and telling raunchy jokes. And the next time we meet, I fully expect to take my place again as your first mate. I love you, Dad, and I wish you fair winds and following seas.
Jean, did you want to come forward? Jean? No? Okay. I'd like to invite Gary Plunkett forward.
Thank you. My name is Gary Plunkett, and I was Jim's law partner for 31 years. I met Jim when he was 49 years old. I was a law student at UD, getting ready to graduate. I interviewed at the school and met Jim and knew that I wanted to be a part of his law firm. Jim was incredibly enthusiastic about practicing law, as well as running a law firm that has been in existence for 50 years. I'm not sure there's any other law firm in Dayton, Ohio, that has had continuous existence for 50 years in one form or another. And for the most part, the firm was the same. Some names may have changed over time, but Jim led the law firm successfully for years and years and years. And we're a small law firm. And so being a small law firm, you get to know people pretty well. Sometimes we're dysfunctional, sometimes we love each other, but we've stayed together for 50 years, and I'm sure that the firm will continue into the future. All of this would not have been possible without the leadership from Jim Hochman. He guided our firm throughout the years, and we prospered because of it. And so, I don't know if you all know what we do, but we're a firm that represents individuals. We don't represent businesses or companies. We represent ordinary people who get hurt. And that's all we've ever done for 50 years. And Jim was a true believer in representing every person. And he really believed that helping your individual man is the greater good. And it's what we've always done. And we did it with Jim's exuberance, with his leadership, and we had a lot of fun in the process. Our firm, and just some of the accomplishments of Jim Hochman at our firm, from a business standpoint, we've never missed a payroll in 50 years. We've never missed a pension or profit-sharing payment. Jim created multiple class actions over the years. As a lawyer with serious health problems, in his 70s, single-handedly settled a case for over $15 million. Now, name me one attorney that you can think of who single-handedly, in their 70s, with catastrophic medical problems, while he's getting chemotherapy, could bring a case to resolution for more than $15 million. It's unheard of. But being a good professional is not the only aspect of a good man. Jim and knowing Jim for over 30 years, the world was small to Jim. Jim wouldn't hesitate to get on a plane and fly to London to see his son, or California to see his daughter, or to see his beloved grandson, who he raved about constantly, and it's well-deserved, both his son, his daughter, and his grandchildren. And his beloved wife, Jean, who got a master's while the firm was ongoing. He was proud of Jean for her professional accomplishments and was the love of his life. And when you spend so much time with somebody, as I have and the members of our firm, you really get to know somebody. And Jim was my best friend and mentor-in-law, without question. He'll be missed.
Jim, Dad, my father-in-law, through the eyes of his daughter-in-law. I first met Jim, my future father-in-law, when I arrived from Europe to Dayton, Ohio, to visit Jeff, his son, with the expectation of a romantic weekend. Well, Jim certainly had other plans. Upon arrival, Jim, a passionate boatsman and fisherman, asked me if I wanted to join him, together with his father and Jeff, to a fishing trip to Lake Erie. Little did he know that I wasn't too keen on fishing. But one goes the extra mile to make a good first impression on the family. So off I went with the 3 Hochman men. A while into the long trip, Jim turned around to me and said, with his irresistible charm and a big grin on his face, "By the way, Petra, you don't mind sitting and sharing a room tonight with all of us. It was more economical that way." Interesting introduction to the family, I thought. I think I really climbed the ranks in Dad's eyes when, after an eternity of no one of the men catching a fish, I, the fishing novice from far, was the only one to have caught 2 walleyes for dinner. Just a few years back, we all met up in Florida, a place where Dad, the most seasoned traveler I ever have met, loved to spend much of his time. He invited us all to a rock concert of a group called Styx, and then made us laugh out so loud when he dressed up with a long, curly brown wig and a pearl necklace dangling from his neck, driving his car, rock music blasting from the speaker, and Dad banging his head in true rocker fashion. I was worried that he might cause an accident because people in passing cars laughed so hard when they saw him. Dad had a great sense of humor, incredible wit, and charmed his way to achieve often the impossible. He defied any conventions, traditions, and ignored barriers if they did not make any sense to him. His resilience and fighting spirit in the face of adversity was unparalleled. So was his love and dedication for his family. Dad, we love you very much, and we will miss you dearly. But your legacy will live on through your children and grandchildren. Rest in peace.
Jeff and Josh, if you'd like to come forward. Yep. Do you need a hand?
Feels like a kid again. I haven't been up here since my bat mitzvah. You know, Jim was an all-around person, and I'm really going to miss him. He was an adventurer. He traveled to all 7 continents. The only one that I missed was Antarctica, because I am not a water lover, and I sent my daughter, who is a water lover, to Antarctica for me. And I'm glad that I didn't go to the Drake Passage with seas of 60 feet, but I'm sorry that I missed the penguins. Jim loved every minute of that trip, and he loved being with his daughter, and he loves being with his children and his grandchildren. We went to California in 2015 so that he could finish his round of cancer treatments, and Stanford really did save his life in many ways. He was an all-round person to me. He loved fishing. He loved sailing. Things that had a lot to do with water. I used to call him Captain Neptune. But he told the story once when he was sailing in the Caribbean without me, which he did numerous times, and they met up with a sail ship of what they found out were pirates who would have loved to have simply tipped the ship overboard, the ship that Jim was on. And they made motions of they had a baby on board, so please help them. The captain of their ship at the time said, "Don't help them, we have rifles, and we would be happy to just shoot them out of the water." Nothing ever happened. The Coast Guard, who said they were coming, never showed up, but Jim did get home safely with his friends and the captain of the ship. He also loved to do things spur of the moment. We had good friends in Canada, and that friend picked up Jim in his new car in Florida, and they traveled across the country like 2 college kids, laughing all the way, taking an extra several days to get home because they really didn't want to quit. They had such a good time. But as Gary said, Jim was devoted to the working man and woman. And I became the wife, the caretaker, the caregiver, the nurse, Dr. Mom, and everything else that Jim needed and wanted along the way. We would have been married 59 years at the end of this year, and I really will miss him a lot. But I will miss more being here in Dayton, Ohio, and loving to see the friends and relatives and Jim's business associates who are here today. Thank you.
And now I believe Jeff and Josh would like to share some music.
at my life, I'm a lot like you were. Old man, look at my life, I'm a lot like you were. Old man, look at my life, 24, so much more. Live alone in a paradise that makes me think of two. I've lost such a cause, give me things that won't get lost, like a coin that won't get tossed, rolling home to you. Old man, take a look at my life, I'm a lot like you. I need someone to love me the whole day through. One look at my eyes and you can tell that's true. Lullabies look in your eyes, run around the same old town. Doesn't mean that much to me not much to you. I've been first and last, look at all the time goes fast, but I'm all alone at last, rolling home to you. Old man, take a look at my life, I'm a lot like you. I need someone to love me the whole day through. One look at my eyes and you can tell that's true. Old man, look at my life, I'm a lot like you were. Old man, look at my life, I'm a lot like you were. Dear Dad, in many ways, I've been rehearsing for this day in my mind for the past 16 plus years. When Mom and I nervously waited for the doctors at the Cleveland Clinic to perform their magic tricks and emerged to tell us that they had successfully removed the kidney tumor that had recently been discovered. Little did any of us know that this would be the first of many battles you would engage in from that day onward. This horrible disease continued to throw everything at you, Dad, with punches seemingly coming out of nowhere, knocking you off your feet time and time again. And every time I thought to myself, this might be the final blow from which you won't recover. Yet the guardian angels were looking over you, Dad, and with a fantastic army of supporters and trainers in your corner, including many here at Temple with us today, you pulled yourself off the canvas more often than Muhammad Ali in a bad night in the ring, and won each successive bout you fought, one by one. Yes, you definitely moved up through the years from welterweight to the heavyweight division, but it really didn't matter. Sometimes you won by split decision or a TKO, but you battled like the one-armed soldier that you are. And at the end, and against all odds, you actually kicked cancer's butt. But then came the final, the invisible and fatal blow, out of nowhere that no one, including the very Stanford doctors that had helped save you countless times, saw coming. Dad, you have the right to know that the official determination of your passing was indeed blamed on COVID-related symptoms, which you didn't know beforehand, and what you and I suspected the past few weeks. And for that, I can only say I'm very, 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 very sorry. The silver lining, though, Dad, is now that you can finally breathe freely again. No need for those tubes up your nose or that oxygen reading on your finger. No more endless trips in the Tesla to the numerous doctor offices, nor the chronic pain from head to toe. Those days are gone forever. Remember that breathing technique that we practiced last weekend with Mom. Slow inhale, hold, slow exhale, hold, and repeat. And I'm sure you're practicing it again right now and getting better with it with every breath. So keep up the work. It does help. I don't believe, as you heard before, that anyone in this room would disagree that Dad was a nonconformist, traveling the road less taken in many key decisions in his life. As Gary said, he could have become another soulless corporate attorney, but decided instead to represent the little man on the street, the average Joe that needs legal support in this cold, cruel world of ours. When others were panic selling at the bottom, Dad was always searching for opportunities amidst the rubble to buy. And when others were flashing their platinum cars around the bar, Dad was asking if it represented good bang for the buck. You'll be happy to know, Dad, that you're now resting peacefully in your favorite Orvis shirt and a pair of slightly too tight navy blue chinos and that new safari hat that you found on the sale at Costco's. You always felt more comfortable shopping at Dollar General than on Fifth Avenue, just like your father Jack and his before him. No, not a cheapskate, just using good common sense and judgment. And willing to walk away or fold the cards if it didn't seem just right. Dad, you were a tough negotiator, tough but fair by all accounts, generous and empathetic, yet demanding of himself and others too. And Gary, as he mentioned, I'm sure would agree with that. I believe I speak for my entire family in saying that we couldn't have asked for a better father and husband, and are immensely proud of what Dad accomplished in his too short a life. He supported the community of Dayton with his heart and thrived on the energy he received from community and all of you, his dear friends. And we know you will miss his wonderfully wacky personality, as Marla said, and great sense of humor as much as we will. He could take it on the chin, and he could dish it out too. To Mom, Marla, Jack, Abby, Petra, Josh, Liza, your husband, father, and grandfather, respectively, will always be with you too. He cares about you immensely, will be there when you need him most. Just look for it. I don't believe Dad had any regrets at the end. He wore his life on his sleeve, and many meals too, and we were all the better for it. You didn't quite accomplish everything you wished for on your bucket list, Dad, but you sure did tick off a lot of the boxes. And I promise you this, that you better be ready for many more wild adventures. Because you're going to come with me. Every time I strap on my skis, hoist a sail, take a stroke in my kayak, hop on my bike, put bait on that hook, sit behind the wheel of your beloved MG, and especially when I light up a cigar. You're doing it with me every step of the way. So best be prepared, because I got no intention of stopping either. Lastly, Dad, you needn't worry about missing out on any stock market updates or any of our great private investments we've made together. I'm going to be reading them out to you one by one, the good, the bad, and if necessary, the ugly too. You have provided us with a rock-solid foundation. To that, we thank you immensely. And I'm going to do my best to ensure it continues to grow and grow and grow for generations to come. God took the strength of a mountain, the majesty of a tree, the warmth of a summer sun, the generous soul of nature, the comforting arm of night, the wisdom of the ages, the power of the eagle's flight, the joy of a morning in spring, the faith of a mustard seed, the patience of eternity, the depth of a family need. Then God combined these qualities, and when there was nothing more to add, he knew his masterpiece was complete, and so we called it Dad.
The thoughtful reflections of his closest family and friends, it is my privilege to share just a few additional thoughts about Jim. As we've heard and we've read about in his beautiful obituary, Jim has truly left a legacy here in Dayton. With more than 50 years of law practice and generously volunteering his time in the arts and other communal activities, Jim was determined to build up our community, one person at a time. Jim was a champion of the working person. He saw how people could often be overlooked, but he was determined to do everything that he could to help his clients. As a plaintiff's attorney, he stood up for them when others wouldn't. Jim's family shared with me that he was always a beautiful balance of tough but caring, as we heard, empathetic and demanding of himself and others. But at his essence, he was indeed always fair, always honest, and always easy to relate to. Jim was not one to stand on ceremony, but he did hold very strong beliefs about working hard and being passionate about continuing education. We heard how he took this to heart in 2008 when he became a bar mitzvah in a beautiful ceremony in Jerusalem together with Marla. He encouraged people to learn and believed that if you can, you should attain the highest level of education in your field as high as you are able. He was especially glad if that education took place at The Ohio State University, where his whole family earned degrees. And as Marla shared, her dad would always say that there are a lot of things people can take from you, but no one can repossess your education. And I believe this is how he viewed life, all of his life experiences, such as traveling, spending time in the great outdoors, soaking up nature. He never regretted having done anything. He only regretted what he was not able to do. As his family shared in his obituary, Jim was the embodiment of joie de vivre, never letting an opportunity to enjoy life pass him by. He was so funny, sarcastic, even irreverent. He had a self-deprecating sense of humor, and unlike many of us, as we heard, he could take it as well as he could dish it. But humor was also a form of healing for him. Levity was important for him in getting through the difficult times. But Jim was always able to find the blessing even in dark times. Though his last trip to Dayton was filled with sadness, he still commented to me on how it was also an opportunity for his family to be together again, which was so important to him. Though he did not display it much, Jim was indeed a deeply spiritual man. Behind the jokes, he treasured his family, and he measured his time by the amount of time he could spend with his family, especially his grandchildren. There's a midrash on Psalm 24, where a rabbi said, "The divine presence does not rest where there is idleness or sadness or levity or frivolity or empty speech, but only where there is happiness." And why is it that this happiness is what attracts the divine presence? Because there are moments in all of our lives when it is difficult to maintain an outlook of joy. Life is filled with moments of celebration, but life can also be filled with hurt and pain. And therefore, to be able to live life with constant joy is to affirm faith in goodness and meaning in life. And so the person who lives life joyfully, despite the difficulties that life may bring, therefore is a witness to God's existence. Jim's choice to live life in such a way lifted up other human beings in the way that he found blessings in his relationship. All of this brought a sense of godliness to all of our lives. And with Jim, he helped to remind those around him that all of us are created in the image of the divine. Though we grieve this day for our loss, we also give thanks to the Almighty for the gift of Jim's life. And I am sure that he would want to be remembered for all the goodness and kindness in his life. For more than 80 years, Jim has been among the just and the upright in this world, and now we pray that Jim may continue to rest among the just and the upright forever. Obviously, words are never sufficient, never enough to this effort. But now it is time that we let Jim go into the safety of God's eternal embrace. Zichrono livracha. May his memory be a source of blessing among us. As for now, a miracle is over. The unique and precious human being is no more to our sight, but a new miracle begins, and our tradition calls it shalom, peace. May his eternal soul ascend to heaven and rest in peace forevermore, as we say, Amen. And now we'll take just a few moments in silence for our own thoughts and prayers as we reflect on the unique ways that Jim touched all of our lives. Into your care, O God, we entrust the spirit of James Hochman, for you keep faith with your children in death as in life. Sustain us that we may meet with serenity the mysteries that lie ahead, knowing that when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you, God, are with us, a loving friend in whom we put our trust. You are the light of our life, our hope in eternity. We continue now with the traditional El Malei Rachamim prayer, chanted first and then read in translation. Please rise if you are able.
El Malei Rachamim shochen bamromim Amzim menucha nechona tachat chanfi chashchina Im grushim utorim gezohar harakia mazirim Et nishmat Gedaya ben Yaakov Ruth shehalach leolamo Bal rachamim yastiru beseter knafav lulamim Vitror hachayim et nishmato Adonai nachalato V'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo v'nomar Amen.
El Malei Rachamim, God of abundant mercy, God Most High, may the soul of our loved one, Gedalia ben Yaakov Varut, who has gone into eternity, find the gift of perfect peace in your embrace, together with the holy and pure, whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. Compassionate God, hold him close to you forever, so that his soul may be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May he find a home with you, and may he rest in peace. Together we say, Amen. Larry?